I'll probably have Matt talk to you. Is that okay? All right.
It's no big deal.
It's just, God damn, it gets confusing.
Well, it does, and the last thing you want to do is complicate that or add to that by having to go to Virginia. And,
I mean,
that's a mess.
you know, we've been down there. It's a 12-hour drive.
Put it on?
You know.
It's awful.
And, you know, Mason's like 10 months. You put a kid in a car seat. I mean, she got somebody to give her a buddy's pass and fly up here because they're going to be up here at Christmas.
Yeah.
And I said, regardless, we're flying him back.
Yes.
You don't put no 9-month-old in a car seat for.
No,
Hell, I
that's-
travel for a living. It kills me.
Yeah, that's awful.
But now I shut it or clicked out of it and it came right back up.
What kind of bullshit you guys got on? What kind of bullshit you got going on down there?
When they get the rumor from Harbaugh flying to Rams.
Really?
Yeah, those people.
Why would he do that?
You know, and you know what? If he does, they ought to look at those players and said, "Guess what? You can transfer anywhere." These coaches,
Yeah.
these coaches.
That would be awful if he did that. I can't imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
you got the world on a string at Michigan.
I like the bald.
Redevelopment. Yeah, this is it. Why don't you buy it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Happy said he was at the bait shop not too long ago. I don't know, it wasn't you?
It's 33 like the rest of them.
Right. A lot.
I think that's the one that they couldn't find a ladder for that you had to go out and tap in.
It's there.
Well, you know it's there, but unless they can find Jim McCool's old plans that showed the logo, you know.
Oh, yeah.
If they
Where
got
Teddy
them,
Parker's house used to be.
Hope he's
see, Andy told Paul they couldn't find it.
He's not here a lot.
Is it on the agenda?
Well,
You can help me. He looks different.
really, you need to talk to
What's
him.
that?
I deal with a hell of a
Yeah.
day. We call it perfect. I had about 5 pounds of eggs.
Smooth sailing. Be done in 10 minutes.
Because you don't serve, you know.
Hang on, I'll introduce you to him. Have you met Brian?
I met with Kelly today and whenever everything
listen.
be fine.
I'm in a stand-up for khakis.
Did you try to call Carol?
Yeah, we gotta focus on the riverfront and these businesses this is a good sign of things to come. You know, we're gonna get more and more interest.
Yeah, well, yeah, just keep trying it.
He's talking to
Yeah,
them.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they got to make sure that was
And
advertised.
with what we're looking, with
about 3
the
years
framework
ago.
we're getting ready to build, I mean, we might have
I know we
shit, and these type of people that coming in and
brought up
going
Zach
down the whole thing.
suggested to just split it and give
Kind of
half
the
each for
vision.
but I'd rather see a house.
Build it, they will come.
Have you seen this book? Yeah.
I can go ahead and see that shit.
Oh, no, I didn't see it. No, I brought my own after that hazelnut fiasco.
Properties.
All kinds of
Big deal.
This guy's name
Hit you first thing Monday morning and then
lots
stop.
that are available that you can build a house on. Oh, if you got any or not.
All right, thank you, appreciate that.
Martin Luther King. He wants to introduce you. Yeah. Walk East Way. Randy Hawkins, Brian Westmore.
Here's the firehouse.
I don't know, it's in my booklet.
Give you a reference point. This is over from Ivy Tech. If you stand here and look this way, that's what you'd see. They want to build that all the way up. You want to keep it from around?
Yeah.
Brian's the man to talk to.
That's the presentation. I didn't have any extra books, but I grabbed one anyway. The last 2 pages are at the very end. You got
I can't, I'm advising my attorney, I can't
I
talk.
just have to use the microphone.
Because she's suing you for libel.
Not near a microphone.
I think that's one he's interested in.
Days or something in there.
Yeah, do you want me to work on that?
No, I don't. I was going to say, don't bother.
Al hadn't
Oh, that's
texted me in 2 days.
Oh, okay.
So where you living at now, Ray?
I'm sitting upstairs watching basketball.
How are you?
I'm good. For several reasons, but the best reason is I don't know if you know, but tonight's my last meeting. Because I didn't run for re-election on school board. No. So
I am not saying a word. No, I already told him I'll take this seat.
So 8 years was plenty.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We kind of
good.
shared the same
All
opinion.
good.
So, but I just wanted to let you know. So I'll be rolling out about 5:45 because I got a meeting at 6.
Okay.
Hey Dale, how you doing?
Good to see you.
You too. So yeah, my last
Is that
one.
right?
Yeah, I didn't run for re-election on school board. So
Oh,
after tonight, I'm done. Got my last school board meeting.
Hanging
Tonight.
up.
Do they
Now you can focus on AM basketball.
give you a buyout?
I hope so. They should. They should. I'm hoping I get that tonight. I'm not counting on it, but I'm hoping for it.
You know, it's happened to him 6 times.
So, but I wanted to let you know, Mel.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Minimum of.
1,300 livable, and then you also have to have at least a single car garage. What they do. Yeah. Normally what you do is you put the house up front, and right behind that put like a 22 to 25 foot driveway off of the alley, and then a 1 or 2 car garage, whatever you want to put.
We'll get it after this meeting, but not tonight. Right now. That's
Good seeing you, buddy. You still
All
got
right, nice
motorcycles?
meeting you.
she is entitled to 13. For the
You need any more? Hook you up. Oh, yeah, the wife has hers, I've got mine, I've got JR's got a custom built sitting in my garage. I have no room in my garage.
We usually go to my granddad's on Christmas Eve in Manchester. I think we're gonna move to my dad's. My dad sold our house I grew up in next to 3 Mile Ridge. That brick. Next to nothing. Sorry, Howard.
Hey, how you doing? Good seeing you, man. I said, he's at the block, and soon as he said the name, I'm glad you had your back. Doing all right? Good seeing you.
How long did you work from home?
Christmas morning at my mom's house.
He was here, the whole gang was there.
What about you guys? We going
Darren
north?
Davies.
No, we go to my sister's on Christmas Eve.
Pretty well when they start breaking up. It's about time you were.
Okay.
John was still there, right?
Greg Petty there.
Are they good? Is that where you're from? Where at? Where'd you grow up?
Did you?
Dayton. So you knew about Bonavita, Phil Myers?
Oh, yeah.
That place is closing down. That was my favorite pizza place. That's why I was telling Christian, because it reminds me a lot of Strong's Pizza. And I just thought that was the best. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, really?
Because that was the only, Dayton didn't have a pizza maker.
Okay.
Bellevue had, it wasn't there, it was in a little,
It's time to bail.
Yeah. Well, Bonavita's in a bank.
Oh, yeah.
bank, yeah.
What,
We grew up
doing it
right
next
across
year?
the street.
did you really? Dayton's a great town. It's got a cool little downtown.
Well,
Good seeing you, Randy. All right.
the reason they've not
That's the first one of the year?
developed or redeveloped.
You wait till December.
Bellevue.
exciting.
Okay.
So
But it's almost good in a way, because it's smaller.
it's smaller.
It seems like it's
morning,
got
Sierra.
some really cool
Where in
stores.
Yeah. That was, Kim called me, told me yesterday.
You know, the property values are good.
Somebody sent me a message from his team, he said now he gets to blow up 20 car lots.
Hope we don't go over to JR's lane.
It kind of blew up.
Yeah.
Soul Cruise is little.
Gotta be cheaper than what I imagine what's his name was getting on the lane.
2,700.
Wow.
We had,
Yeah, who was it?
This year's graduating class was 43 people.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Our class.
A couple of those guys got some, Brian's got
Biggest class.
had a.
Same old stuff.
4:30 with him.
All the time. Here we got a backup camera now. What happened to those other two bills for Trinity?
And you get caught a lot, probably.
I know I'm 5, and I'm not sure why, but
Yeah,
Oh, if
all
you
these
got
people
caught.
have already
they forgot.
brought me to somebody else.
There should be some in the chairs.
Butler been waiting for you. What's the Italian place where they have all the rain men?
Oh, she's making them now.
Yes, you are. I like that place. That's a great place. I always wanted to play boxing.
Just I asked for an update because that's the street. That's normal.
Yeah.
I seen how they were like this and that.
We made up. Check it out. They opened that shit on.
Then when you called Saturday.
Well, we say it's really cool. It's expensive, so it's really neat. They have piano guys and music in there.
But, Mansion Hill.
I will. Mansion Hill.
It's right down the street,
Down here.
2 blocks.
Yeah, there's gonna be enough of them tonight. There's gonna be enough of that tonight.
I like that.
Yeah, they had a guy there. Yeah, you went this morning with Jimmy Hendrix.
Well, I'll tell you what.
That's awesome. A lot of good music in Cincinnati. It's kind of underrated.
Hey, have you got the lease signed yet?
Really?
Right now, couldn't run for myself.
Akron has good music.
Yeah, but Akron, gotta be very careful when you go.
Oh, I bet.
Very careful.
Mario.
I just need a minute. Somebody swiped all my copies.
That's fine. I'll wait till you get back.
What do you say, Mel?
I'm gonna wait till Kelly gets back. She's gonna make some copies. So we'll pretend like we can't see the clock.
Hey, you're the chairman. He's right there. When you're all.
He texted me Saturday. He called on Saturday before the basketball game. Left me a long message about, hey, we're gonna fix him. I said that. I thought,
Knuckle don't work.
That's normal. You gotta get him up and.
We'll see.
Sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a simple guy.
Me too.
Did you hear any more back?
Doing good.
Scott, did you hear any more back from the bill?
You tell me what that book so I can give it to Connie. Event list.
It's on the desk. I made an electronic copy.
I think he's waiting for Kelly. She had to make copies of something.
I'd like to call the December 12th, 2016 Redevelopment Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Director Brian Messmore. Here. Chairman Mel Davis.
Here.
Vice Chairman Bob Ribble.
Here.
Secretary Tony Abbott.
Here.
Member Paul Seymour Sr.
Present.
Member Dennis Hutchins.
Present.
School Board Member Patrick Myers.
Here.
And City Attorney Del Welton.
Here.
Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from last meeting?
Yes, sir.
I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
We have this is announcements. We have a couple of announcements this evening. First of all, I'd like to wish, and on behalf of the board, everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This is our last meeting in 2016. And what I'd like to ask the board to do, we have some folks here that are asking some help on their business plans and expansion plans, to take those requests under advisement. In February, we're going to have a joint council redevelopment commission meeting to establish our goals and mission for 2017. So if we could just take those under advisement this evening, let the people make their presentations and take them under advisement. We also have some appraisals in, and I'd like to ask the board to act on those if possible. Any other announcements?
Yeah, I just had a couple additions to the agenda this evening. Under new business, we've added Owen Clausen, and under old business, Mr. Burbrick is back to follow up on his presentation from our last meeting. And also, Mr. Chairman, if you were going to bring up the presentation on the riverfront development plan that we had last week, I don't know if you wanted to mention that.
Yep, the board needs to address that, and what I'd like to ask the board to do, if possible, is pass that along to council, and with a request to proceed with RFPs for design and engineering. Any other announcements? We have a reorganizational meeting in January, and like I said, a joint council session in February. So, financial report?
As of December 6th, 2016, the balance for redevelopment is $2,427,682.21. But after our promised monies for projects, it is $1,182,263.95.
Thank you. Any comments? I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the financial report.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
New business, Brian Messmore, Premier Energy in Dearborn Plaza.
I just wanted to advise the board that both those projects are still proceeding. The timetable for completion, where we would award their amount promised in their business proposal, is going to creep into 2017. They weren't able to get to the point where our agreements would have been met in 2016, so we prepared the paperwork to encumber those same amounts into payable 2017. So the plan's the same. Success is still, in good measure for both those projects. It's just a delay, a natural delay in the process, getting things wrapped up. We have representatives from the Dearborn Plaza here this evening if you have any questions, and the representative from Premier Energy will be here. He had an appointment at 4 and was going to try to make it. He should be here soon. But as I understand it, things are still proceeding. They will be complete. We just need to officially move the fiscal transaction from 2016 to 2017.
Any comments?
I have some questions for the plaza.
Mr. Hill?
You want to come to the podium, please? Can you give us an update on tenants in the plaza, please?
We have of course, we've got Tractor Supply.
You pull the microphone a little closer, please.
Test. Okay, we have Tractor Supply has just opened.
Right, I've been in there.
And we have a market that is coming the end of March, taking the remaining space for the Kroger, the old Kroger, all the remaining space. And then I have, there's some interest from a shoe store that we're working with, a national shoe store, which will be good if we can get them. And of course, we've got several other tenants, like we've got a nails place, and we've got trying to get a hair place. So I mean, we'll be probably, I'm thinking by March we'll be 85% occupied.
Part of my question to you was going to be, originally we were going to have 2 anchors in there, and I understand the one couldn't work out. Is this market that's coming, is that another anchor, or?
Yes, it's an anchor. That'll be 36,000 square feet.
Okay, so
it's a full service market.
And can you share the name with us?
Millhouse Market.
Pardon me?
It's Millhouse Market, but I'm not an expert on the ownership. Like it's not an IGA. It's a higher quality top market, but I do not know. I'm familiar with like Kroger's, which is always Kroger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with the other vendors and how they do it. All I know that it's going to be, I know that they're purchasing some equipment from Whole Foods that went out of business 2 years after they opened. And so the equipment will be first rate, and the store will be basically on the same level as that. It's full service. We're trying to get a pharmacy right now. We've got a pharmacy interested, and so.
Have you talked to the local guys in the pharmacy?
Yeah, we're talking to all of them. We've been in touch with a couple. I guess I'll go ahead and say DeVille Pharmacy, Tom DeVille, and we're going to be meeting with him. He seemed very positive about Lawrenceburg. He said he was
just curious. Did George's approach you, or did you talk to
We
George's?
talked to them, and they had so much going on, they couldn't get to it.
Okay.
We need somebody as quickly as possible, and I'm the first one to jump at it. We're going to take them if we can.
But you extended to them, so.
Yes, absolutely. We called them several times and met with them.
Good. Thanks for the update.
I'd just like to make a comment, Scott. Your the new facade on that building looks very nice.
Thank you.
Very attractive for Lawrenceburg. Thank you.
We're still working on it, and there'll be a few. There's some. How the finishing touches take a while, but the majority of it's done. We still need to put it back of the building, get all that cleaned up and everything. And there are several other. Of course, we got the lighting up. We're just now putting the lighting up, which will make a big difference. And so there are when the other anchor moves in, we will be working on the front some more. So it should
very nice.
So
I agree with Chairman Davis. It looks great. Does it look like you're going to come in under budget for us?
No way. We're not anywhere near budget, so that's just the way it always goes, though. So, thanks.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. Messamore, you need a vote to move the encumbrance from 2016 to 2017, is that correct?
I would do that just to cover the bases. I've filed the paperwork, signed it and filed it with the clerk's office, so I would think that would be in good order to go ahead and do that.
Thank you.
Okay, I will accept a motion to move the encumbrances from 2016 to 2017.
So moved.
Second? Pardon me? For
payment.
Yeah.
Okay, for their payment.
For their payment,
just
and
wants it
also
on.
Premier Energy. Okay. Second?
We had a second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Who was the second?
Didn't Tony second it?
I haven't opened my jaws, but I will.
Okay. All right, that works.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed.
Thank you.
Short Street properties, Brian?
Yeah, as you mentioned in your opening remarks, we have the appraisals back on the Short Street properties. That includes, we're kind of lumped in there, but that also includes the Scudder property, Jimmy Thomas property, and the Carpenters Union Hall. And those properties are, have been in, a target for us in terms of redevelopment of that area around those 2 empty blocks. Also noted on their presentation last week that those 2 blocks where Music on the River is was reflected in the report out as a civic park, and there seems to be quite a bit of consensus around that as that idea. So those properties are directly adjacent to that opportunity. The total of that, the appraised value is $454,000. However, I believe that we can get into at least one of those facilities for less than the appraised value. So we're looking for the board's recommendation this evening on how to proceed.
I will accept the motion to either ask Mr. Messmore to proceed or not with negotiations on those properties.
All 3?
Yep.
Before we do that, Mel, have you talked to any of the owners yet about the proposals or the appraisals that have come in? Okay.
Didn't we get a word of some sort from the Carpenters Union about a price earlier than the...
Yeah, and that's the one we'll use for our offer.
On some of these properties, the price, can we see an in-depth report on how they appraised it?
Yeah, we can get that to you. It's, as I understand it, it's difficult. There's not a lot of comps to evaluate those particular properties, their location, their current conditions. But that's the average of the 2 appraisals, the professional appraisals that we have.
And for the commission's knowledge, if you wish, you can authorize Mr. Messmore to negotiate above the average price of the 2 appraisals, but only if you specifically authorize that. And you don't necessarily have to, but for the education of the commission, that is something that can be authorized.
What do we want to do with these buildings? Tear them down?
I guess the consensus plan, in terms of walking and talking to, folks involved, is that we would be in a position to have those buildings taken down and have that lot ready for redevelopment.
So what about the Historical Society? Aren't they on any register or not?
The Carpenters Union is, I believe.
No way we could tear it down.
No, you can't, but there is a formal process that takes up to 1 year to get through, and it's up to. It doesn't necessarily have to take that long, but there's a process set forth in the state code that.
Whenever we deal with them, we get the raw end of the deal.
Yeah, well, and I think...
This would be on the local board to start.
Wouldn't that go to state?
Well, it'd go through the state, but again, it would start with the local board.
Local board recommend?
And or, we could look for proposals that include that building in the, because it is kind of an attractive building, and maybe we can find a proposal that would include that in the development. But I think, for, how we have to wrestle with this is, we're, buying some older buildings that are probably going to have to be taken down to grade level and start over on that corner.
Well, I agree with the first 2 buildings. They need to come down. They're in bad shape. Carpenter's Union Hall is a pretty nice building.
Right.
But my question is, what about the wall, this wall that they share? Are those separate walls or one wall or?
I think there's separate walls, the Carpenter Hall to the Scudder property. I think the other 2 properties may have a demise wall between Jimmy's and the Scudder property. Yeah.
So basically, let's say 2 to 3 agree to sell. And the one says no. Are we kind of stuck? Because we don't.
Well, we would be stuck if we chose not to negotiate. There is a chance that one, or any of them may want more than it's appraised for, but I would suggest we proceed at the appraised values for the exception of the Carpenters Union, which we will offer their most recent offer, as Mr. Seymour indicated.
Which was less than the appraised value.
It was less than the appraised value.
And then spoke to Mr. Scudder, is he willing to sell?
He's willing to sell, as I understand it. I'm not sure.
Brian, I ran into Mr. Scudder a couple of days ago in a social situation, and I mentioned to him that you had the appraisals. And I didn't say anything beyond that.
Right.
And he looked at me and he said, well, you guys know what my number is, financial number.
Right.
And I said, I'm sure Mr. Messmer will be calling you after our meeting on Monday. And I said, just the only advice I gave him, whether he takes it or not, I said to have an open mind.
Right.
Because here's the dilemma as I see it. Jimmy Thomas's building won't be any problem for us at all. I think Jimmy is anxious to move forward. What do we do with Jimmy's building if we don't get the second building is really the question. And I guess the bigger question is how far are we willing to go? And I know Del mentioned we could give you the authority to negotiate up, but I think we're going to have to find some ceiling here before we give that approval.
And or we just go forward with the appraised values on those two properties.
That's an option, of course.
And then if there's information from one or the other to not accept, we can discuss it in January.
Well, but the follow-up to this is, many of us in this room went to a presentation the other night at the college, about Structure Point's presentation on the downtown development that they've been chartered to do. And a big part of that was that green area across the street from these three buildings. And it's unreasonable for us to sit here and think about doing that project that they highlighted last week without us addressing the issue of across the street. Because we all know what the conditions and the state of those buildings are. And one or two of them, one in particular, is probably a dangerous condition, and there's people living in there. But I don't know how we can go forward here without addressing two of these three buildings. I personally agree with Tony, the Carpenters Union building probably has to go to, we have to repurpose that for something else, but in the existing building probably. It has huge significant historical value with the Masons and the whole deal, and it goes back a long way. And we'd be foolish not to recognize that issue by itself. So I guess what I'm asking is, what do we do if we get Jimmy Thomas's, as Bob brought up, and we don't get Scudder's?
Well, I think that...
No, but I'm asking for a reason now. I'd like to know where we're comfortable asking Brian to negotiate up from there.
Well, that's what I was going to address.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think that when you ask Brian to negotiate, before he pulls the trigger on anything, he has to bring it back to the board, and we can either accept that or reject it.
Well, that's a given. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But Brian would probably like to have some kind of an idea.
Well, I think part of negotiations is, here's what I'm offering, here's what I'll take. And then you try to compromise somewhere. And you bring that back to your board, and he probably takes it to his wife, his board, and see if that's acceptable to both parties.
I understand that now.
Can I ask a question? Did Mr. Scudder said that we know his number. Did he give you a number, Brian? Is it anywhere comparable to the appraised value?
Yes, he gave us a number.
Is it comparable to the appraised?
It's more than the appraised value.
Quite a bit more?
Yeah.
I think it's 100 and a quarter more in that neighborhood. he may be on the sunny side above that, but I think 150 more probably caps it.
Isn't that building not structurally sound?
Well, and I think that's an issue that might this might end up involving in some way, at least exploring whether condemnation is necessary or possible. I think you guys have hit on that too. And that's typically how, when areas and buildings are identified for redevelopment, as we've identified this as a key piece, then that's typically the discussion that cities have to have and when they're looking at buildings like this.
I just think it's going to be a tough negotiation for Brian, I really do.
How about we just make a motion for him to negotiate the 3 properties and get back to us?
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Get a
So that's my motion.
Okay. Motion, second. We need a second?
I'll second that.
Bob seconded, I think.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Brian, I would like to add, if it's okay, I mean, we'd like some expediency with this, I think, if possible. I don't know if you're back to work yet. I'm back. Are you back? Okay. But if we can get some kind of idea, because, there's other things that are tied to that on that block that are important going forward, so. Anyway, thanks.
Matt Davis, Historic Lawrenceburg Firehouse.
Good evening, Commission members. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. The purpose of my visit is actually twofold. One is purposeful for tonight, and the secondary is purely exploratory for something that we're looking for in regards to my company, Beebs and Bubs, and our future growth downtown, which I'll talk briefly at the end. But the main purpose of my visit today is, as you probably all well know, roughly about a year and a half ago, as I'm here to speak for John Davis, my father, we purchased the property at 124 Short Street, also known as the Historic Firehouse. And with most of our plans that we've had, and we believe that we have built a great reputation in the city of fixing buildings up, creating viable businesses to, attribute itself to growth, a little bit more of a better looking appearance. We believe we've done that. Unfortunately, as most of you, pretty much everyone here knows, my father has become very, very ill, and that has almost stopped all of our future progress that we are doing outside of my current restaurants. So I am here today because after speaking with my father, we both agreed that the best possible course of action was to come back to the redevelopment board for the purposes of making sure that we could offer this property back at our cost, to make sure that it was well represented in not only making sure that a viable business that serves this community the way I think we all hope it would be, but also to make sure that these companies are vetted to make sure that the integrity of our historic building stays intact, which I believe is really important. And I know we've talked about other buildings in the area that have historic significance, and this is definitely one of those buildings, being that it was one of the first firehouses, Chamber of Council chambers, council chambers, as well as one of the first actually jail cells. So it does hold a lot of significance. It is a building that does obviously need work. We have put some initial structural work into it, resurfacing the south wall, which had a hole in it and was almost crumbling down, with tuck pointing throughout the entire building, repainting and things like that. But most importantly, what we're doing is we're asking the board members here to vote and see if it is possible to take the building back at $88,000, which is exactly what we have into the property. There is no profit being made. We just want to make sure that It is given back for the sole purpose of what we have seen with Mr. Messmore and Mayor Milan, what we've seen from the city leaders, is that there's some exciting things about to happen in this city that I think we've been waiting for a very long time, that it took a while, which it does with any city, to build up to. And I think that we're getting to the point where we can start seeing this to fruition. And we're excited about it, but we do not have the ability to focus and put our money, which we just don't have with medical bills and things that I'm having to now cover on my end. My focus is the restaurant and my father. And I just do not have the means to be able to do that. But I do not want to let it sit there. We have had purchase offers for the property for above what this price is, but at the same time, these are not businesses that serve a retail market in this area. And for everything that we have done in 17 years of being in this community, I can't in my good conscience just allow that to happen, not unless I'm desperate enough to have to give that away, and I'm not currently in that situation. So I'm asking the board to consider the repurchase of the property back for $88,000. If you'd like me to pause, I can wait, or I can go on to the next order of business, which is
I'd like to
exploratory.
discuss it.
Any comments, sure?
Mel, Matt, obviously, you got to ask. There's no liens on it or loans against it, or you guys have done nothing that way, so it'll check out very clean and clear.
Yes, but again, I will say, Mr. Hutchins, that with my father's illness being as backdated as 3 years, I am working diligently to make sure that everything is taken care of. But as far as I know, with everything is up to date. There are still things that will continue to stay in the facility itself, including the giant bar coolers, the draft beer, the fryer set, some prep tables.
So the equipment that was there is still there?
That is still there, minus the things that we have brought in the building. We plan to leave here for possible enticement of other businesses that we don't have use for. But again, when we purchased that property from Mr. Denning to hopefully do something with that, again, we're looking to just give the whole thing back as is with our repairs, and continue to focus on the growth of my business that I have focused very hard on to make that grow, as well as taking care of my father in the condition that it's pretty much, at this point, it's a quality of life to make sure that he's taken care of and not doing what he was doing, as Mr. Davis knows, was an integral part of this community for 17 years, probably gave everything that he had. He just can no longer do that. So I'm taking now the helm and going from here further.
Hey, Matt, did you ever have anybody come in and look at that and said, we're going to open a restaurant? What does it need?
Yes, so we've had, I mean, I don't think it's too far stretched to say that, I did have the gentleman from Third and Main. He was looking to do a brew house. At that point, I think that we had literally just purchased the property, so that was not something that we had looked at. We had other groups take a look at it, but the interest in some of the proposals that we had received for the building, one was at $99,000. We had another one about $112,000. Were from companies that were purely construction service oriented and did not serve what that building was supposed to be. And our feeling is that I currently have the building on the market for about $165,000. The reason why I have that on the market is to protect it against someone coming in and just buying it. And another one we had coming in, they wanted to turn the upstairs into a loft, and they wanted to have a residential in the bottom. And these are all great ideas, but we have been working, at least as long as I've been down here. I mean, after I got done with the Marine Corps and I came down here, I put everything that I had into the city for literally 17 years. And we have been working our butts off, not just me, but all the leadership in this community, back and forth to try to build something here that I'm really excited about. After our meeting, you know, and I talked to Brian, and there's not everything that I'm excited, but I'll tell you what, he talks about the civic area. If we can work, you know, together and find a culpable way of making this work, that's exciting. That's something that we've been waiting for I don't know how long. And this building, this specific building, with its architecture, its structure, and its location, needs to be for something that is going to benefit traffic patterns, and people coming down here for what we're trying to put down here. And we have just held out. And at this point, I can no longer focus on that, and my only course of action is to make sure that I try to put it in the hands of a group that I feel is best suited, which is, and I really believe this, redevelopment. The whole purpose of this commission is to make sure that this city is better, and that you vet all the groups that come in here. I can't think of a better group to be able to do that. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's not for you, I don't know, but this is the best option that I have to make sure that the right decision is made for the future of this building and our city, and the development that's hopefully going to be going down there in the next couple of years.
Nobody can sell that building better than us. We've sold it. No one can sell it better than us. We've sold it 3 times.
And I agree, and I would, Tony, and I would say this, I think that I believe that there is almost a lesson to be learned about what we have learned with the people in this, with the city. I think there are people that have gotten into business that maybe were well over their heads. It doesn't necessarily make them bad people, but there's also some people that make decisions based on bad purposes. I can only speak upon myself. I can only speak upon our reputation. I think we have shown, I think our restaurant shows how much we're willing to put into the city, because we don't have a huge traffic pattern down here, and yet we put well over $400,000 to build a high-traffic restaurant before the convention center was ever built. That's our belief in this city. But you have to have people that you can rely on. And I've got a lot of friends in the city, got a lot of friends on this board, and that doesn't mean you owe me anything. Doesn't mean you even have to say yes. But I only know to be able to give to someone that I know that's going to hold the same values as I do. And I hope that's the case. And if not, as I said, you know me, no one owes me anything. I'll still go back smiling, still running my business. But this is my only course of action, because I just don't want it to sit there. And it's not right for it to sit there. Not for all the issues that we've had, not for the past precedents. It's just too important. And that building's too important, and it really is. I think it's a gem of this city, especially being the fact that it literally is directly across from our giant parking garage. Everyone that goes out of it, everyone sees it.
Matt, I think we see the value because of what's going on in that footprint, and the role that it could play. And I appreciate you guys offering it for what you have in it.
Thank you.
I've got a quote here from Westerstrom.
Westerstrom, yes, sir. That's the second order of business, yes.
And
Doesn't have anything to do with the firehouse, Paul.
it would, Tab, if you let me talk. You're asking for us to buy the firehouse.
Yes, sir.
And then you're going to come back, if we buy the firehouse, you're going to come back and ask for money to put a cooler and a freezer in your restaurant.
No, sir. Today's proposal of the firehouse has nothing to do with the other. It's because I'm here and obviously this is going to be the last meeting before 2017. And I am speaking on behalf of John Davis on one and myself as the second part of Beebs and Bubs in the second. I just wanted to make sure, because there's something that I'm looking for, and I'll explain that, kind of my thoughts on that, Mr. Seymour, in regards to what I'm looking to do with my business that I have put all my money into, put 2 years. I've got a great traffic pattern, a good loyalty brand, and what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to expand my hours, the hiring process, and keep my headquarters here down in downtown as I begin to grow, so that I can keep it here. And if it's okay with the board, just to speak on Mr. Seymour, so if I can just speak about real quick why I'm here for the quote.
Let's finish this firehouse up first. Let's do one thing at a time, guys.
I'll go along with that.
Matt, do you know, has the firehouse been appraised recently?
The last time it was appraised, I believe it was during the initial sell between, when we had approached the commission to be okay with the fact that we were purchasing from Tim Denning.
Okay.
I'm not sure what is appraised at. I know that we bought it from him at $65,000, and the amount of work that we've put into it only equates to about $88,000 total. But again, that's infrastructure repair, repainting the entire building, time and staff, and things like that. That's about the amount of money that we have in it, no more than that.
And to kind of go along with what Mel said about projects, and we have a joint meeting in February, I guess if Matt, you'd be willing to give us a little bit of time on this, because we're going to have to get appraisals done Perhaps we could, it's just a suggestion, perhaps we could authorize 2 appraisals to be done, and then we could bring it back in February, and you guys could kind of consider the purchase then, if that would be okay. Matt, if that would be okay with you.
I'm okay with whatever the council decides.
We were able to locate one appraisal. What are you looking at me like that for, Kelly?
I don't remember the amount.
I think it was like 71.5, I think.
How old was it, Brian?
It was older. It's,
That's before the work that's been
Yeah,
done on it?
yeah.
So it should appraise that much?
yeah, for argument's sake, that's relatively close, but that was just, we could only find one. I could not find another. Kelly couldn't find another. So, I just wanted to make sure the board understood that.
Brian, that appraisal goes back before Tim Dunning. If it's pretty old.
I thought it was like 6 years.
I don't,
Yeah,
and I don't, and if Matt's willing to work with us, we can, it's probably maybe best to proceed as suggested, but I just wanted to make sure the board was aware that we were able to locate an old appraisal.
Well, I'll make the motion for it to go out for appraisals.
I didn't hear you.
But I'll make the motion for it to go out for appraisal.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to proceed with the appraisals. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
I think it's made out of rubber. It keeps bouncing back.
All right. Well, Joe, I'll make this last part quick, as again, this is purely exploratory. One of the things that I'm doing with some of the changes that are going on with us, my father and things like that, is I have built Beebs and Bubs. We have been open since May 2nd of 2014, and I think if any of us know the restaurant, I think we've become a pretty viable part of downtown, especially keeping along the lines of the future growth of the city. And with that, I've been down here for 17 years. I've never asked personally for one thing, and I put everything that I have into this community. But one of the things that I'm looking at that I need help with, and I need help, is to expand my restaurant beyond its lunchtime hours. And currently, I only have enough cooler and freezer space to be able to facilitate 3 days of lunchtime business, because we are probably the only restaurant in this entire city that makes everything fresh. I make 100% of everything in our restaurant by hand, in-house, and I just don't have enough storage. And it is something that is expensive. I have given everything that I have to the restaurant. We've got a great community outpouring of support for coming to the restaurant, but to be able to grow, to be able to facilitate greater hiring, to be able to keep my restaurant located in its current spot, because I am limited by space going wide. I only have what's available to me back behind my building, which is on that concrete pad. I would have to expand and get an 8-foot by 20-foot cooler, and this is something we've been working on for a year to see what would it require to be able to stay open in the evening hours to support some of the events that are going on downtown, so that when people are staying at the DoubleTree Hotel or people are going to the events, that they see another prime business that's literally right in front of their front doors, open and available to them all the time. This is a dream that I would like to have. One of the reasons why I haven't been able to stay open is because I can't do it. I literally work 90 hours a week. Most people who know me know I'm down here all the time. I'm always working or I'm dropping off food. It's because I have...
Matt, you're talking about a walk-in.
A walk-in.
With those dimensions.
It is an 8-foot by 20-foot walk-in refrigerator and freezer.
Would you fill the board members in on what your current freezer chiller situation is presently?
I currently have a 3-foot by 8-foot multiplied times 2 freezer. I've got piecemeal freezers put together, because honestly, it's all the money I had left. After putting $400,000+ into Beebs and Bubs in a building that was once a smoke-filled pizza joint, and to rip everything out and repair it from ground up, I didn't have anything left. Just to be completely honest with you, I just didn't have anything left. But I've committed myself down to the area. I believe I've built something that has an amazing future, not only just regional, but national. Now, I've had cities come, I've had countless cities, Indianapolis, Lexington, Louisville, Frankfurt, companies that have come to ask us to build a location in their city. And it's wonderful to hear that, but as a new business, I'm just not quite there yet. It requires a little bit more. It requires assistance that I just don't have a pocketbook that big. I just don't. So I'm asking for help to allow me to build from Lawrenceburg. And just real quick, one of the things that I've idolized for a long time, and I know I idolize people, I idolize businesses, and I idolize the company. Has everyone heard of Max and Irma's? Max and Irma's was started in 1972, and it was based out of an outskirt German village in Columbus, Ohio. And it's if you ever get a chance to go there, it's a small building with a restaurant right next door, and the building was never even used. But they managed to build a grassroots structure out of that area, move their entire corporate headquarters. They've got over 30 locations nationwide. They've hired everyone from within that area in that building straight up. I really would like to do the same thing. I would like to know that if I grow out, that the people I'm hiring are from here, the hours that I'm pushing are from here, so that it becomes a staple of Lawrenceburg, so that when someone goes, well, where's Beebs and Bubs located? Its headquarters in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. I don't know if that's possible, but it's what I really want. Obviously, I've committed 17 years down here. I want to continue it all the way for my family as well. So, Mr. Seymour, to your question, Firehouse has nothing to do with it, but I am asking for the board's support to help progress the future of Beebs and Bubs in this city, so I can continue to hire people from here. You know, and again, for the restaurant that I have, I do hire a lot of people that don't get a lot of jobs in other places, and I would like to continue to do it, because if any way I can support my business and also support youth that are looking for a way, I think that my Marine Corps values allow that to happen. And I think that I create a great guidance and leadership to be able to hopefully create a better youth going forward. And I can't say that about a lot of people. So I asked that in February, should I come back, that it's at least considered. And I wanted to give that to you up front so that you knew kind of what the quote was at this point in time for you to look at for when I come back.
Well, like we said, Matt, we're going to take requests under advisement tonight until we get reorganized in January and have our joint meeting with the council in February. So if you don't mind coming back in February, we're going to take your request under advisement, and we'll hopefully act on it in February.
One thing that I would ask, Matt, is if you would get more quotes than just from one company.
Yes, I can definitely do that.
At least 3 of them.
Yes, the reason why I got this quote is, especially for my restaurant, the equipment and the facilitators that have operated the best over the duration has been the companies that this company works with. But absolutely, I can do that. It's more or less the scale and the specs that it comes with is the reason why I chose this, based upon my history of 2 years with the restaurant industry and roughly seeing what wasn't breaking down and costing more money and more time. Because one, I don't want it to fail, and I don't want to have to, shut down my doors because something was failed. But there's a couple other ones that I can definitely take a look at, and along with a business plan and a much more of a formal approach to everyone's point, to make sure that you're given all the information possible to make a decision that you feel is best. Okay. Great. Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Owen Clausen?
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Owen Clausen, and I work here in town at the local utility. Pretty stand-up guy.
You are.
Anyway, I appreciate your time this evening. What I wanted to talk with you about was we've had a lot of talk about investment, and investments particularly in the downtown area. So my wife and I, we're going to be in the community for a while, so we're contemplating building a home. And it kind of occurred to us, it has for some time, though we didn't know the location that we'd be interested in. In short, what I'm proposing is that I would be willing to put up to $1 million of my own capital, my own money, into a property in the downtown Lawrenceburg area. I would guarantee at least 7,000 square feet, 4-story building. First floor would all be retail, of which I would have a business located in that space. What I'd like for the board to consider is and there's a few things that would be really essential to this, to me being willing to invest that money, because to invest $500,000 in a home out on 48 someplace or something like that is a far less risky investment. I could build a home out there, I could live in the home for a time, sell the home, and probably appreciate some upside to it. I don't have that same confidence in the downtown area. I think there's a lot of potential here, but it's a far riskier investment. The property that I would be interested in, and the pieces that would be essential, is the properties on High and Short Street. So particularly the corner of High and Short Street. So a couple things that I would have to know that the city was going to do or follow through with would be the acquisition of the additional properties, the Scudder properties, so that I didn't build something next to something that I, quite frankly, wouldn't want to build next to. And also to see that the city would have some traction, and I mean in the short term, on developing that outdoor downtown area, the park area. So with that said, that's kind of the general concept. What I would want to come away with that is, if I invested $1 million in a building in the downtown area, I would essentially wind up in today's market, and checking with the realtors, and doing a little research on that, I would wind up in a building that were upside down. So what I would be asking of redevelopment is to look at what the values of the property are, take those values into consideration, and at least put me in a position to where I'm at least in a positive equity position on the investment once it's complete. And I know that there's any number of ways we could approach that.
You give us one scenario.
Yeah, one scenario would be that I build a building that's worth $1 million, or cost me $1 million to build. That's at $150 a square foot. And when the building's done and I move into it and have a business in the bottom, it's worth $650,000.
Or $800,000.
Or $800,000, whatever the number is. It would take me many years probably, if ever, that I could get right-sized.
You're looking for help on the other two.
Yeah, I'm looking for help on the other two. And I understand it's something that redevelopment would have to take into consideration, and I'm perfectly fine to build a house out on 48 or someplace else, but I do believe that if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, there could be some benefits to being in the downtown, not just location-wise. I'm not looking for more grass to mow. That's not the driving force, but it is a risk. But
a couple of quick questions on it. The retail space that you talk about on the bottom, would you be cooperative with the city on how they want to do the retail space in the building next door, should they go into that? I mean, so we have one look, and the second part of that is the look of the building. I mean, can it match up with something that the city hasn't?
I think that I would be perfectly willing to sit down with the city and discuss conceptually what the building would look like.
And a design issue.
Yeah, to a point.
Sure.
But the practicality and the usability of a retail space is probably not a discussion I'd get too far down the road with the city on, simply because it's so far out of their wheelhouse.
No, but the concept is real.
Concept,
Yeah.
sure. Concept, sure. There's obviously there's a lot of moving parts to a negotiation like this.
One of the things that redevelopment has been interested in with the structure point thing is that if we do a civic park down there, that there's places for retail to flourish and have more things to offer for entertainment, concerts, or whatever.
Well, I don't have any issue with there being retail space at the bottom. I think that without retail space at the bottom, there's not as much incentive for the city to be willing to even entertain the idea. So I get that. I understand that.
Is that where you're talking the Scudder building?
Yeah.
All that right
Jimmy
there?
Thomas building.
Okay.
No, he's talking the corner,
talking to
Bobby.
Thomas.
He's talking the corner,
Jimmy Thomas
Bobby.
building.
Mr. Clark, you had a...
Yeah,
Jimmy
just so
Thomas's.
everyone understands, both the city and/or Olin would still have to bring whatever type of development in front of the Historic Preservation Commission, and they would have to approve the architecture and the appearance anyway. So it's not just Olin. I mean, you guys are going to have to approach the Historic Preservation Commission and make sure that they...
Well, since you're on that committee, I'm sure you'll keep us up to date on what we need to do, Mike.
Absolutely, and the gentleman right next to you can...
I got it. The address is that address.
So what I would be willing to do is just whatever's required by the city. Also to be able to show proof of funds. That's not dependent upon a bank or anything of that nature. Be able to show proof of funds that I can do the project. And come to some kind of an agreement as to how the matrix would play on valuation of the properties. And I would be willing to give some indication of what the retail space would be, who would be located in the retail space. I've had that discussion.
I wasn't
separately.
concerned about that. Just what it looks like was what I was concerned about.
Are we positive that if we do succeed in buying that corner, that the old building's gonna be taken down?
It's falling down now, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna come down.
It's a great question.
I'm just asking a question, fellas.
Yeah, it's a great question. Any number of things that didn't happen specific to that lot or the lot across the street I would just invest elsewhere. But if there were guarantees and sureties that certain things would happen, then I would be perfectly willing to invest my resources first, absolutely.
So if the city doesn't build that park there, you're not interested in that corner then?
No, I wouldn't be.
That's no surety we're gonna do that park. I mean, that's just in theory and idea right now.
Yeah, it would definitely change my interest in the property. Yeah, so there would be a number of things that would have to happen, and so long as those things happen, then I'd be perfectly willing to invest.
Well, you're giving us a positive picture, though, on that corner.
Yeah, and I think that it would. And like I said, I can show the seriousness of my investment side of this. I mean, that's.
Well, and this is an additional incentive for the city to consider. That's how I view it. Your proposal.
Well, it could. I mean, I could regret this for a long time, or it could work out nicely. But I'm willing to.
Could we get a deposit tonight?
I'm willing to see how that cookie crumbles.
If it don't work out, you're not getting a pay raise.
That's all right.
Thank you, Owen.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Clausen. Any other new business?
Interesting.
Old business? Bob Olgus?
Good evening, Bob Ogles. Here's the revision of everything you asked for at the last meeting. As far as the equipment, the furniture, etc., I would take care of that. Some things came up that we found out through Mike Clark, the state, I believe Carl Fryman. We will have to add restrooms outside. We will have to add a gate, fire gate, security gate to the back of the plan. And here it is. You know, as I said at the last meeting, I want to be the cornerstone of the entertainment district. We have a prime location to do it. It will eliminate a blighted building. The job creation, I did hear that that was being questioned a little bit, something that I'm not sure people realize. That location would be open 16 to 17 hours a day, 240 days a year, which is 3,840 hours. And then obviously the final 3-4 months a year, then we would go back to normal. But on the same hand, that would enable us to open up for lunch because the outdoor spaces, etc., that will create business. Mr. Rizzo's here if you have any questions. Any questions for me?
I got one question, or a couple questions from Mr. Rizzo. Here it says constructional drawings and specifications. Are you doing them?
Yes.
Construction management and oversight, you're doing them? Would you be willing to knock that off the cost because it's your building?
I'm not asking for that money. This was just something that we showed in the budget.
So this is not what you're asking for?
I understood that you wanted a complete breakdown of everything at the last, when I was here back on the 14th, I believe it was.
Yeah, Bob, but what Tony's saying is we need to know what you're asking for from the city so we can distinguish between the two. Because when we saw this bottom line number and we compared it with the number you gave us a month ago, it was like, wow, you know.
Well, right there, you could take 15.6 off. Down on my end, you could take 5.6, which or 5,600 off. 3960 off as far as the furnishings. So I guess the demolition, asbestos abatement, structural demolition, we're asking for 19,640. The complete structure, you got the concrete breakdown. Obviously, I would get 3 bids. I've gotten 1 bid off of each one, but I will get 3 bids, see which one comes in at the best, and the 64,950. So that would be, give or take a few cents, $84,000.
As we stated before, Bob, that we're going to take everything under consideration, under advisement. We're going to reorganize in January, which is required by statute. Then we're going to have a meeting, joint meeting with council in February.
Okay.
To establish our goals for 2017.
Okay.
So if you all don't mind coming back in February.
At the redevelopment meeting or?
Redevelopment meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Could Bob come up to the podium for a couple minutes, please? Bob, I realize you said you're going to contribute the 15.6.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there anything else in the construction that you can, in the demolition or anything else that, I mean, it's your building, right?
Right, yes.
So is there anything else that you're willing to do to get this off of $84,590?
We're willing to get multiple bids to try to bring it down more competitively, or lower. These were safe numbers that we felt comfortable with and could do it, but we would continue to get some additional bids to try and bring it down further. But we thought that was a safe number we can get the project done at this time. Until somewhat get more plans out and get competitive bids.
Well, I'd like to ask maybe a tough question.
Sure, that's okay.
Of that number, what would you guys at least consider or think about when you leave here today? Maybe splitting that number with us or something coming off that number for your contribution. For being the owner of the building, we're going to take the building down, pay for all these things. I'm just asking how you feel about that.
In addition to the engineering,
In addition to the
construction
engineering.
management and
That's correct.
permits, we would consider something other than what's left and what Bob was taking off. We wanted to bring the numbers to you first to see what you'd be willing to do, and perhaps we might go to see what we can do after that, but we...
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I have one more question, Bob. The shared wall to the building next to it, did you figure anything about that, or?
It's 2 separate walls.
They are separate walls, so
absolutely. We've
when you
assessed
tear
it.
that down, you're not going to have to fix their wall or anything?
We're including in here siding for their wall. It would be similar to the front face of their building now.
Oh, okay.
So we put siding match to make it look nice to their part. And
Well, looks like a great idea to me. I mean,
Well,
I would love to see it.
we think it'd be a win for everybody, so we're excited to try and make it happen. And
Yeah, I think, Bob, the redevelopment's excited about having it done.
Good.
And the city would be excited about having it done. I mean, but it's just a matter of economics. We're gonna have to meet with joint council. They're gonna talk about it, and we'll see what happens.
I understand. We'd like to get it done too, but it's a project we can't, at this time, just can't do on our own.
I understand, but they all add up, too.
I know. So, if you can, what you can do to help make it happen would be great, then we can assess and see if we can contribute.
Oh, I'm sure we're gonna
Additional-
speak in joint council about costs, so.
Sure. That's the first step to take, was to come here next.
And Bob, thanks for coming back with everything. Broken down. Appreciate it.
I want to make it happen.
No, you've given us a good accountability, so.
You know,
I think it significantly increased business and presence to this area a lot.
brother, at the last meeting, you've got your cornerstone with Strong's Pizza. I feel it's going to be very successful.
Bob, have you been before the board before asking for money?
I've never asked for nothing.
Good to hear.
I've been down here 4 years. I was at one location because of circumstances. I had to move to a different location, start over. I haven't asked anybody for nothing. I've gotten 2 sign grants. So that's what I've gotten.
Thank you.
Well, it would be a huge addition, there's no question about that.
It will be a success. Just plain and simple, I will bring people to Lawrenceburg. And the other merchants, the other...
Bob, how many events do you project that you're gonna do out there, evening events and day events?
Weather permitting, once
Right.
again, I'm dealing with Mother Nature. I plan on running live entertainment Thursday, Friday, Saturday, except possibly holiday weekends, maybe, maybe not.
For the whole summer?
All summer long, and I'm figuring 8 months out of the year.
Okay.
You know, if Mother Nature cooperates, hell, I'll go 9 months out of the year. You know, I can bring the people. And if the other merchants are open down here, they will prosper from what I can bring.
Hey, Bob, if you do, would you have the music outside?
Yes.
Is there a lot of...
The way the stage is
Neighbor-
designed,
No, there's no neighbors.
the way the stage is designed, it will not interfere, it will not go back
Okay.
to where the old folks' apartment is, or, you know what I'm talking about.
We're crossing this.
And, you know, I'll be honest with you, I'm getting old. I'm not gonna have the headbanging stuff out there. You know, you're talking 2-man acoustic, you know, maybe a drum set, but, I would be doing karaoke, that sort of things outside. Karaoke's very successful for us right now, but we do it on, well, now Saturdays. But yeah, the entertainment's the key. It'll bring people down here, and that.
Well, again, it was very comprehensive. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, gentlemen. If it please the board, I would like to ask Mr. Browner from Premier Energy to come forward. Mr. Browner from Premier Energy, could you come forward? Thank you. Earlier, we had the Premier Energy and Dearborn Plaza. If the board has any questions for Mr. Browner.
I do.
Sure.
Do you remember we talked about jobs that you were gonna hire locally?
Yeah.
Could you give us some breakdowns on how that's materialized?
When we move, I'll be able to give you an opportunity. I'll be able to give you a better answer.
Haven't started that process
We haven't
yet?
started the process yet. We're still working on the, well, we have the plans finalized. We've got a construction out for bid, so we're hoping that we can start breaking ground on construction here before the first of the year.
Do you have a forecast on?
You know, best estimate, it should be about 120 days. So that should hit really nicely because we'll start getting into the...
Anything different on the gas company coming in with you guys, or?
Gas company's coming in too.
They are coming in?
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so there's a contract on that land that the gas
That's good
company's
news.
on right now. Kelsey's gonna expand out a little bit, so...
Mr. Clark.
Any other questions?
Waving his hand over there.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I know I met with John, had a pre-application conference with him.
Yep.
Haven't heard anything back. You still have a lot of permitting to take care of before you guys do break ground.
Okay, all right. We'll make sure that don't do anything without any permitting.
How many jobs, again, did you tell us we're talking about?
The last time we were here, I think John Stanger was the one who spoke, but
I didn't bring my notes
it
because I
would
didn't know
be
you guys.
approximately 10 dozen jobs, 120. It's a seasonal kind of deal. Premier's growing quite a bit, so there's a good chance that...
All good paying jobs?
All good paying jobs, good hourly wages, union jobs. Yep, so we're going to get quite a bit of equipment that's coming in as well that's going to be tagged in Indiana too, so.
Right, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
John, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Trinity Dry Cleaning?
Before we go into that, can I address Mr. Messmore?
Sure.
I've been hoping we could get both of those companies to come in with a report, and thanks, Brian, for doing that, because I've been wondering, the Plaza and Premier.
Okay, and sometimes I take for granted because, we're in communication occasionally, so I just, bebop down the street with a little bit more knowledge than you guys. Not on purpose, so don't hesitate. Well, on some things, Tony. On some things.
It's a scary thought.
I hear you. But you know what I'm talking about. But don't hesitate to give me a shout and remind me of that, because I have a comfort level perhaps that some of you guys don't have on occasion, and I don't always think that way. So don't hesitate to holler at me.
Trinity Dry Cleaning?
I assume that Brian has submitted, should have been 2 claims, should be the camera and should be the equipment.
Yeah, the equipment claim is being processed.
Okay, so is that not being discussed tonight, or is it still in the works, or?
Yeah, tonight we're just discussing the backup camera, Ms. Mitchell, and I think that when you submitted your proposal, it was for equipment only. The backup camera is not considered dry cleaning equipment, as far as I know. And the board has already taken a vote, and I can ask them to vote again, but they've already taken a vote to not allow the backup camera.
Well, the backup camera's not included in the equipment. The backup camera was in the...
I understand, but we're not allowing the backup camera. The 900 and whatever it is for the backup camera, we're not allowing that.
Okay, well, I would like to have an exact reason, because when I was given my request was for $38,500 for the van, not including equipment. Equipment was a totally separate piece of it. So my request was for $38,500. That included a 2016 Ford Transit, which included came standard with a backup camera. It also was for the racking on the van and included the wrap on the van. Those 4 pieces, the van, the camera, the racking, and the wrap, 4 pieces. I was granted $30,000 to cover those items. I called following that meeting and specifically asked if those 4 items would be covered. It was verified, Kelly verified it, I assume that was with Brian, I'm not sure who it would have been with, but Kelly verified it and called me back the next day and said all 4 of those pieces would be covered in the van request, not the equipment request.
Kelly who?
Kelly. I was instructed at the last meeting, if I had any questions, that she was my point of contact.
On that meeting, on the van request, that wrap, we said we would not pay for.
You did not.
We did.
And that's for debate. And I asked specifically what was going to be covered and if that was excluded, and I was told no. Is that correct?
We discussed it, and we were told that we would be including it.
Correct. So I'm working off of what I was told. Kelly was my point of contact. I called her and specifically asked for those 4 pieces if they would be included. My agreement, which I assume was drafted by Mr. Weldon, says that my grant for the van includes customization, which would include the backup camera, the racking, and the wrap. So I would assume it was your interpretation, it was Mr. Messmore's interpretation, and it was the information I was given. So I purchased that backup camera, which is a necessary piece of customization on a van that's loaded with clothing and you cannot see behind you. So it is a very necessary piece of it. So it is not in the equipment piece of it, it's in the van piece of it. I was granted $30,000. I'm within the $30,000, and I specifically asked if it would be covered and was told that it would.
Well, the board has voted, and I'll ask them to vote again.
Well, I would like a
Now,
specific
wait,
reason as to why it's
Please
being
let me finish
excluded.
my sentence, thank you. I'll ask them to vote again to either accept or reject your request for the backup camera. And I would entertain a motion to either accept or reject the request for the backup camera.
First of all, is it in the notes?
Yeah.
You mean the minutes?
Or the minutes, yeah, minutes, notes. I mean, but what's in there? Whatever's in there, we got to go with.
A truck is in there, $30,000.
But you're saying it was part of it.
It was part of it. My request included
Why is
all
it
four of
billed
its
separate if
pieces.
it was part of it?
It was included in a 2016, a new van, it's standard equipment. I had to buy a used van, it's not standard equipment, I had to buy the backup camera separate.
Mm-hmm. I'll accept a
So
motion.
is that why the van cost less than you originally quoted us? Because you went to a
My
used
original
van?
request was for a new van. I had purchased a used van.
I know, but when we granted that request, it was for a new van.
No, it was $30,000. I couldn't get a new van for $30,000.
Give us a quote on the new van.
I gave you a quotation for a new van that was $38,500. Now, that included the wrap, the backup camera was standard, but it was more than $30,000. I couldn't purchase a new van for $30,000.
But that's when we said we were not paying for the wrap, so the wrap could have came off of that price.
The van wasn't, the wrap was never excluded. And I know that that's a difference in opinion, but it was never excluded. That was Mr. Weldon's understanding, it was Mr. Messmore's understanding. It was not specifically excluded, so it was our understanding it was included. But I was granted $30,000 to cover the four pieces that I needed, and as long as I could purchase all of that, then I had the $30,000. And that's what I did. I had to go to a different company to get a different quote on the wrap. I tried to keep everything local. I had to go outside of the city limits to try and stay within that budget, and that's what I did.
And how much was your total?
My total of everything that I purchased for the van,
Yes.
it comes in just under $30,000.
No, I mean, your total grant, how much did we grant you?
$30,000 towards the purchase of the vehicle, customized, and $42,000 for equipment.
72,000, and we're gonna argue over $800.
I will accept a motion to either accept or reject Ms. Mitchell's request for payment for the backup camera.
I'll motion to reject it. I think we've given enough.
Got a second? Second? Motion dies for lack of second. Thank you.
So what does that mean?
That means they're not accepting your request.
Okay, well, I would like a specific reason for the record, should I have to take any legal
Ms.
action
Mitchell,
why it's being
Ms. Mitchell.
denied.
Legal action
Ms.
for us
Mitchell.
granting you money?
You know, and I would like to say, now I would like to address
Oh,
that.
hold on just a second. I think I'm still the chairman here. Ms. Mitchell, your request has been denied. Thank you very much for speaking.
I would like to address that comment. He's
Ms.
addressed
Mitchell.
me, and I would like the chance to respond.
No, let her
I've been
address.
made to feel
Let her address.
that
Go ahead.
I'm ungrateful for the grant that I've been given, which is not the case. Now, Mr. Hutchins came into my business and harassed me in front of my customers over this whole issue with the van. So I don't think that I've been treated with the respect that I have given to this board. Now, all I'm trying to do is follow the parameters that this board has laid out for me, and I've been given pushback every step of the way. I don't think I've been treated fairly and with respect that I have given to this board. And now for a $900 backup camera, which I was told would be covered and comes out of my pocket, I'm being made to feel like I'm ungrateful for receiving a grant. For $45,000, I've put up my own money to do this expansion and to create jobs. And I don't appreciate the fact that this board makes it seem that I'm ungrateful for money that I've been given to try and create jobs in the city of Lawrenceburg.
But you have received $71,000, correct?
No, I haven't received the other 13,000 in equipment.
We're going to approve that claim this evening.
That was my original question.
Yes, it gets approved, because it was in your grant.
So yes, it does come down to the $1,000, and I don't mean to seem like I'm ungrateful, but that's a lot of money to me, because that comes straight out of my pocket. And the only reason I'm even here is because it was part of the original agreement that it would be covered. So I was told one thing, and now I'm being told something else. That's my issue.
Well, also, it was under our understanding that we weren't paying for the wrap, and how much did the wrap cost?
The wrap ended up costing $3,400, and if it wasn't going to be covered, then why was I told it was?
We paid for that, but this board did not vote to pay for that.
Why did you pay for it if there was disagreement and it wasn't supposed to be
There was questions
covered?
of why it was paid for.
Because it wasn't clearly defined that it was going to be
It
excluded.
was clear to this board. Now,
Ms.
I am
Mitchell?
speaking, please.
You can go ahead and speak. Ms. Mitchell, please be seated. Thank you. Go ahead, Tony.
It goes back to the wrap we paid for that was not authorized to be paid for by this board. So you got over $3,000 more than you should have gotten. And nowhere do I see anything about the backup camera being on that grant either.
It was on the original request, so yes, it was.
But it was supposed to come with the van.
I couldn't buy a new van.
Okay. We're going to move on. Mike Burberg?
I've got some handouts here for the board.
Fine.
What?
Who is he? Mike Burberg.
Ground car and coach.
Ground car and coach.
Are they on here?
They were in addition. Brian added them.
Brian,
Own business.
did you add him?
Pardon me?
You added him tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just for information, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that we need anything. No.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Last time I was here, I gave you the concept that I was going to pursue at Bryan and William Street. The van that I gave you the handout for are handicap lift vans. The reason I'm asking for the board's help with those are because the expense of the vehicles. Two of those vehicles come from Heg Ford. One of those vehicles comes from aircraft. Heg Ford is seeing if they can be they are a dealer for StarCraft, but they are seeing if they can get that vehicle. Anyway, I have to pay the insurance, according to Department of Transportation, for those vehicles, and the maintenance, the driver's pay, and the fuel for those vehicles, and that will use AB10. If you're familiar with that engine. That does not, the reason I say that is because that doesn't get very good gas mileage. The cost of insurance per vehicle for the truck van is about $1,500 per month. The smaller vans, the Ford vans, is about $1,200 per month. Right now, for approximately 13 vehicles, I pay $57,000 per year commercial insurance for those vehicles. So that's why I'm asking for help from the city on those vehicles. Also, you asked last time whether I intended to live in the apartment above that I proposed in the concept. I do not, and I am not proposing to live in that apartment. So as a result, we have taken the the elevator out of that, and I've got another handout that shows the building renovation and the van total and the total cost.
Can you give Kelly a copy too? Thanks, Mike. I am purchasing the building at, I have a contract, by the way, for the building at Vine Street and Williams. It is a garage. I am moving 3 businesses in there, Crown Car and Coach, Crown Car Service, which repairs vehicles, and Crown Tours, which has the mid-size buses. And then, of course, the building would be on my Crown Properties, which will also reside in that building. That's kind of a real estate corporation, but anyway. Any questions? I'm sure you have a lot.
I've got a couple, really. Have you approached this board before, not this board, but the redevelopment committee of past administrations, and asked for money?
Not the redevelopment board, no. If you're asking about the grants that I received those 6 years ago.
Yes, sir. Keep talking to me.
6 years ago. Those were under company that I was in business with as a partner. They were not this company.
But that company sold here lately?
The charter bus business after 5 years, yes.
And you were still a partner in that?
No.
This is a new company?
No. I bought the name Crown Car and Coach. Crown Charter is an existing company that was sold.
Did you've never received any monies from the board before?
From the city.
From the city?
Grants.
I'm not sure what you're asking. I'm sorry.
City's never given me $1. Have they ever give you $1?
Me personally, no, sir.
How about the company you were partners in?
The company that I was partners in, yes.
Can you tell me the amount?
The Crown Properties, which I was a partner in, that was in Tom Steidel's when he was the city manager.
Okay.
That was, I'm going to say that was about $90,000 or $95,000. No, he was not a partner of that company. That was during his reign.
Oh, okay.
As city manager. I was, part of the reason that Tom Steidel enticed me over here was because we bid on a piece of property at Pools Creek Road and US 27 in Cold Spring, Kentucky. We spent 2 years and $35,000 with engineers and attorneys, and it was subject to zoning. Well, the property was owned by the Campbell County Water District originally. They were not required to get zoning, so it was quasi-government organization that was owned residential. That property was. So I had to go through the planning and zoning and the city council for the city of Cold Spring. Cold Spring thought that we were a dirty industry. The city wants, and this is me talking, wants nothing but professional space and restaurants in that city. The planning and zoning commissioner, who was Northern Kentucky Triad Planning and Zoning, that handled that, asked me to give the city of Cold Spring some land. I said, fine, be happy to do that, if that'll make this go better. So I gave him the land, and I said, by the way, what is that land for? And he said, well, that's to build a street. When it was finally approved, because they couldn't, the city of Cold Spring couldn't come up with an illegal approach, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved it, but the city council said, you Mr. Burbrick, build the street, $500,000. Thank you very much. And I said, no, thank you. So that, because I didn't get the zoning, I didn't get the property, and as a result, Tom Seidel enticed me over here.
Which you received one grant of $95,000?
That was Crown Properties, yes.
And that was the only grant that any...
No, that wasn't the only grant. We received a grant of, let's see, that was to buy $1 million worth of buses, because they were $486,000 a piece. And then...
So how many buses did you buy? This was out of the grant money?
We bought one bus, or we bought two buses, and we sold them when we sold the business. Again, I'm not a partner in that, but I don't...
Were you... But you were a partner at that time?
At that time, yes.
And you sold two buses that the city paid $480-some thousand grant money for?
No, I think it was a smaller amount than that.
A $572,000 grant.
That, yes, a $572,000 grant, $572,000 grant?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That's
well,
600
I didn't get that much money, but okay.
But you're Jack Burbridge or Mike Burbridge?
I'm Mike Burbrick.
And who is Jack Burbridge?
He is my brother.
So together, you two formed Crown Car and Coach Company.
In 2004.
Well, we've got an agreement here for $572,000. 2 new deluxe limousines, 1 new SUV, and 1 new sedan. That money was used to purchase, I understand.
Well, I think we got about a little over 400,000. I don't remember the amount. But that was, we bought over $1 million worth of buses out of that grant.
But according to this, an agreement you signed between Lawrenceburg and Crown Car and Coach.
Yeah, I was partners with my brother at that time.
Yes, sir.
At that time,
Yes,
yes,
But that was sold.
The bus business was sold, yes.
Just the buses?
Just the buses.
What else was involved that you didn't sell?
All of it was sold to me. I bought Crown Car and Coach. The bus business was sold to Waugh Jones, Bluegrass Tours. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, who got the money for the sale of the buses?
Who got the money? Well, I guess Crown Charter got the money, a part of the money. So they had depreciating value at that time. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Who owns Crown Charter? Did you own?
Waugh Jones. I do not own Crown Charter.
I thought Jones bought.
He does. He did buy Crown Charter, yes. Actually, he bought the equipment.
So if he bought the equipment, who received the money for that equipment?
Crown Charter.
All right. And who was Crown Charter at that time the buses were sold?
Oh, well, it was sold to Waugh Jones.
Not two.
At that time, it would have been myself and Jack Burbrick that owned Crown Charter.
So you received the money for the buses when you sold it to
Well, a depreciated value, yes.
Okay, that's what I was getting to.
Okay, gentlemen, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight. And what we said, Mike, earlier in the meeting was that we would take everything under advisement until we reorganize in January.
Now, wait, he just gave us another handout. I have a question about that before you close it out.
Just a minute.
Okay.
And we're going to take everything under advisement. And if you could come back in February, I know that's
Well,
an
that's
inconvenience.
a long time.
It is a long time.
For me, it's a long time, and I say that because I'm going in the hospital. I doubt I can come back because I am going in for surgery in January. I'll be 2 to 3 months to heal up, so I probably won't be able to be back. So I will probably have to have a representative come.
Okay.
Back in March or April?
But we'll be moved and, long before then.
Well, Mel, can I ask him a question? You just gave us another handout, Mike, and it says there's 3 different vans, one for 58.8.
Right.
There's one for 58.81, one truck van for 59.7, and a subtotal of $177,000.
Right.
Building renovation, $385,000.
Right.
Total cost, $562,407.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
What does that number represent to us? What are you asking for?
Whatever you will give of
You're
that,
asking for something on this piece of paper?
whatever you will give against that number.
So you're asking for money against this piece of paper?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what you wanted, you just handed it out.
Oh, I'm sorry. The reason, as I say, the reason I requested that, I've gone through that, the vehicles especially. The reason I have requested the building, I'm putting up $120,000 to buy the building. And just like the gentleman that spoke earlier.
You're talking about Jeff Bittner's building?
Yeah, that's correct. $120,000 to buy that building.
Okay.
And roughly, whatever I put into it is not what it's going to be worth someday. In March, April, May, June, July, whatever, of 2017. It might be, I might be around long enough, and I might not be, to understand or at least enjoy the appreciation of that property. because that would make that property, if I renovated it according to the drawing that I gave you folks, the concept, I guess I would say, you can add that 120,000 to that 350-some thousand. Do you think that building would be worth that?
I don't know. I don't know, Mike.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Mike.
By the way, I have a set of plans, I think, from Gene Weber, with 2 pages that show dimensions and so on, if anyone wants to look at it.
Okay, I ask for approval of the claims once properly certified.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Before we finish the substantive business, under old business, Mr. Messmore talked about the presentation that American Structure Point made as to the Riverfront Development Project. I think the next step would be...
I forgot about that.
Just the design work, approval for the design work, and...
Engineering.
And engineering, and I would ask for a vote, and I think the way that the votes would be, it would be a vote to approve that from Redevelopment Commission, and obviously, as we all know, that's subject to approval of appropriation as a claim by council at large, so the vote would just be to approve the design and engineering.
Well, I think that what we want to do is go out for RFPs on a design and engineering.
Yes, sir.
So I think I'll ask for a motion to pass that along to council with a request for RFPs on design and engineering.
Wouldn't it be prudent for city council to decide that they're going to do it first?
Well, I think we have to, since we funded the study, I think it's proper that we forward it to council and let them make that decision for the RFPs for design and engineering. If they don't
Gentlemen, I
want to
haven't
do it,
figured out what RFP stands for.
request for proposals.
Okay, that's fine.
And if they don't want to do it, then they don't pass it.
But how much is that going to cost this board?
That's what we got to find out. There were no hard numbers given.
I mean, from American Structure Point.
We've already paid the American Structure Point.
That's
Yeah.
on,
We paid American Structure Point for the study.
And then we would invite the proposals for the engineering and the design work. And I agree with Chairman Davis that we would, since it's a redevelopment project, we would be the first to act. We would vote. Of course, council would also weigh in, but we would go first. I think is the best way to do it. And the RFPs will reveal the cost. So the RFPs will come back, and then we'd vote to approve them or disapprove them.
And if they approve the design, a company for design and engineering, then we can get some hard numbers and then make some hard decisions.
Who's doing the RFPs?
Council.
Or who's drafting them?
Drafting them.
I would assist in drafting those with input from Structure Point and Mr. Messmore.
Structure Point has already been paid to do this? Or will that be another charge?
I think they would have to weigh in. I'm not sure. I can get an answer. I couldn't tell you.
Question on the process. RFP, to me, means that we're not involving Structure Point right now. We're going out and asking for
proposals. Right.
And we're open to anybody that wants to propose it. Am I thinking right or wrong here?
If they choose to do that.
They can put it out on the open.
Well, but
It's up to the board with professional services, you can choose to do that.
should we be calling this an RFP? Or as what everyone's wanting for Structure Point to come in and tell you a price? That's what my question is.
That's up to this board, being a professional.
Well, I'm thinking,
Good question.
do we want Structure Point to give us a price, or do we want proposals and let somebody else come in with a similar or same design and give a price.
I thought Structure Point listed some numbers in their presentation.
Oh, they did, but they were awfully high.
Numbers.
They were awfully high.
But you said RFQs and RFPs, correct?
Brian, if the RFP goes out, will you have the input? Who's going to decide where the RFP goes is what my question is.
Well, it would be, an RFP would be open to anyone who's interested in making a proposal. I think, there's a couple things, there's a couple dynamics going on here. I think, I think that, we could simplify this by, it seems there's some enthusiasm about this civic park thing, so, and it was our, funded, study. We can move it as simply as a favorable recommendation to council to review, and, we could hammer out the details, in a work session in, mid-January or something. The costs that were given were definitely on the high side in estimates. I mean, the next step would, to be to find, to get some options on final design. I'm sure there's more than one way to look at those particular pieces of property. And generally speaking, the design cost is roughly 8% of a project cost. So, and it's generally what design, as I recall, design firms.
This is a good.
So that cost would be a portion of the total cost of the project.
I think
so. It would be dependent on the design that we chose.
There's people that want to get maybe a couple of different looks using this step-off platform, and not necessarily that look, to send that out on an RFP, but to get maybe additional looks. I mean, I've heard that from several people.
Right, and I think the design process would, if we got into specific design, there would be multiple, joint sessions where we're moving things around on the wall and trying to get things fitted in, and it would be a participative process to come up with the final design. They wouldn't just go away and come back.
So
it would be, what do we want in there? What kinds of shading structures, how big should a stage be? Where do we want sidewalks? What kind of plantings? So there would be some participation in the design, whoever we chose to design it.
Well, I think that the way I took it, that was a concept.
That's correct.
Now we need somebody to design that concept and engineer that concept.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be that concept.
Well, similar concept.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what I'm asking for a motion for.
This is for the total project, not just the park in town.
I can hear you.
This is for the total project we're going to go out for RFPs for, or not, or just the park?
I think we're just talking about the civic park right now.
Just the civic park.
Civic park.
Yeah.
Because we don't even know if we can do the wet side levee yet.
That's correct. And part of the rationale for that is, we can do that in lieu of any attempt to modify the levee and any interaction with the core. So,
Not just the core, but the LCD and everything else would be involved in some of it.
Sure.
Especially putting gates in and things of that nature.
Yeah, this is just the civic park part of it.
I'll make the motion go out for the RFPs for the civic park.
Have a motion? Need a second?
I'll second.
Can we do this not owning the buildings across the street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just a question, guys.
Yeah, we don't have to accept the plans, we don't have to do anything, we're just gonna get proposals.
And all of it's subject to, meeting the design criteria of the downtown area and any, permitting and all the things that go along with undertaking a project like this. I'm sure there are, probably a couple of bumps in the road yet ahead. And, and I think the biggest thing is, once we have consensus between the boards, I think then we can narrow down our strategy for a final design. I think it's more important that we get consensus from the boards and have a joint discussion.
But we're not locked in on any look right now. Okay.
This is my feeling on it. We've done study after study after study in the city of Lawrenceburg going back 20 years. We got a lot of money in them. We just paid $94,000 for another study. So I don't want to pay anything else for something that we may not even be able to build. That's why I want to keep it away from the wet side until we find out whether we can do it or not. So if we're going to do the park, let's go ahead and concentrate on that park.
That's what we're talking about, Tony, and when we get the proposals back, you will have a cost for the design, you will have a cost for the engineering, and you will have a cost for construction.
Yeah, well, this is strictly the park.
That's fine. I mean, I just want to concentrate on the park.
And
Pat Kreider's trying to get your attention.
maybe
now.
I see you, Pat.
And we got a first and a second, don't we?
Maybe somebody will give it to us free. Pat, you have a comment?
I just have a question, because I'm really confused, listening to this discussion. It's kind of like, okay, you have this proposal, it was made.
No, we have a concept.
A concept, okay. I don't even know if the whole council's seen it, and yet you want to already take a piece of it and go out for RFPs.
Right,
Well,
what we want to do, Pat, is we're passing this along with a positive recommendation.
To council.
That council go out for RFPs, once they, and they don't have to
just that
pass.
one piece of it, though.
Yeah, the civic park.
But when you look at it, those are, you almost need to look at that as a whole piece. Because if you put certain functions in that civic park, what if those pieces of, those functions could have been done in other pieces of the plan? So it's a piecemeal. I'm just, the only reason I'm saying that is because I've been around here long enough to see things piecemeal.
Well, Pat, anytime, hold on one second, anytime somebody gets an RFP on that, Brian Messmore is going to be contacted, and Brian will share with them that here's the overall component. We're asking you to stay within this for this area. So I don't think we have any risk here of
No, the
someone
concept
going
is
off
for the whole
wild
thing.
and doing anything crazy.
We're taking one piece of this whole thing and asking for design and engineering proposals.
Okay, one reason I'm throwing this out to you, okay? One reason I'm throwing this out to you is because I know you're looking at those two lots there on Short and High Street, okay?
Yeah.
And you're looking at that for a park. We need green space down here. I think green space is
We're all on the same
important.
page here.
Yeah, we're all on the same, but that bigger piece, that bigger lot, okay, I just would be remiss if I didn't say something like this, because I look
Which
at
lot,
these
Pat, are you
properties
talking
all the time. The bigger lot, the one where we have music on the river.
Right.
That is an extremely valuable piece of property. Do you really, really want to turn it in to a park, that whole, both of those lots? Okay, the smaller piece I can see, but you want to turn that great big piece into a park.
By smaller
That's
piece,
very
Pat, by smaller piece, you're talking across the street?
Right, the lot
Okay.
that's next to the parking garage, okay? But if you take both of those, think about it, you're taking a tremendously huge piece of property, and you're converting it all into park, which is great. Hey, Music on the River needs a home. I'm not complaining about that, but is that the best use of that property? We have limited property downtown. I mean, is that a better use, is there a better use of that property, even if you only take a portion of it and put a
Well, you're now redefining the whole objective of the project.
Not really.
Yeah, really you are, because this particular RFP that would go out would be to concentrate on those two areas that you're
Right.
addressing.
Right.
And for us to say, well, we don't really want you to do anything on this one because it's more valuable property, we're wasting our time here.
Well, and I'm not saying that you should say that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that,
We just spent $95,000
Right.
to have them to give us a look. Tony's point is a good one. We just spent $95,000 on this.
but what I'm saying is there a better use for all of that property? You have
Haven't found a
limited.
better use for 20 years, Pat, that's been sitting there.
Well, what if you put the music on the river? Why can't that be up on the levee? Actually up there, where that civic park area
I
is.
think we talked about that the other night,
Yeah.
Pat, and
Is that a possibility? That way we get everything we want, plus a lot to develop. That's my only concern, is the best use of
Well,
the property.
I think what you probably should do, to be honest with you, is come back to the council when they get those proposals in and make your pitch there.
And it's not necessarily pitch, all I'm saying is,
Make
can
your
we look
statements
at
there.
it
Make your
seriously?
statements.
You know, Pat,
Yeah.
for what it's worth, and since you brought it up, and your husband brought it up the other night, same issue at the meeting.
Right.
That particular piece of property that he's talking about, and you're talking about, making that the music on the river, that property can be built on top of. That's part of the structure, that's part of the building upstairs on the parking garage that can actually be added onto and go up.
Okay.
Condos could go on. I'm not saying we're doing that, but they can. No, excuse me. It's further down that they can't.
Right.
Okay.
There's part of the structure will bear
That
it,
section
yeah.
to that beam, that seam,
Right.
they can build on.
Right.
It's almost 100 feet off the building they can build on. And I'm just saying that, that's not going to be necessarily something we don't look at.
Right. And all I'm saying is, and I'm not saying that this is better than this, I'm just saying, has everybody really sat and evaluated the use of the properties that we do have downtown? Because we don't have a lot. Honestly, push comes to shove, if you start doing development down there, we don't have a lot.
Pat, there's another thinking here. We want to get started on something to start making the downtown a destination. And I don't think anybody's saying that lot's going to be that way forever, but it's nothing complicated that we want to put on it for green space. I mean, I think the firehouse is going to be there.
Yeah. Right.
Across the street, the Scudder Building, and we're going to have retail, and Owen came forward with an amazing thought that we hadn't had before, and we're going to get some more amazing thoughts. I think Brian's going to get a lot of them. Once that RFP goes out there, they're going to say, wow, you guys are serious about downtown.
And
we're a small, hold on now, we're a small downtown. And yeah, we know we have limited space, but we're still a small downtown.
Right. And we need green space. I'm the first to say
It's an
that.
important part of the whole issue. And I think it's a very effective thing. People love it coming down here. It's the only time a lot of these people even come downtown.
No.
And I think it's pretty special,
Well,
And-
Music on the River would like to have a permanent home other than just a parking lot. So I agree with that, but I just don't want it to
Talking
be.
against your position here.
Not really, not really. I'm just saying, is that the best place for it? Is that the best use of the city's
Well,
properties? as
the
it
people
is?
that came to all the meetings, that moved all the blocks around, the hundreds and hundreds of hours that people were there, they think so.
Well, I mean,
That's
if
what the
the
citizens
city's
want.
fine with that,
Now-
but that's just a concern. That's
If-
all I'm saying is,
Okay.
can we use the property better?
If IBM
Pat, I'd
came,
like to have music on the river, and maybe someday we
Yes,
will.
Tony, that's
But we're
what I would
moving
like
forward.
to.
We're moving to that.
but if
That's why I mentioned that.
Down on the river.
IBM came and said, we want to put a building there, we'd
Right.
move that darn stake.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, because all it's going to be there is grass and pavers.
Chairman?
Okay, thank
You got
you.
a first and a second.
I
I
know
gotta
we
go to
do.
Morse Hill, work on a furnace.
Yeah, it's getting.
All those in favor, sir?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passed.
Pat, nothing personal.
No, I mean, I just...
The meeting's not over, let's get it over.
All right. I'm going to ask for approval of the claims once properly certified, with the exception of the $932 for the backup camera for Trinity Dry Cleaners.
I've got a
We have a
question.
couple issues.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
LMU, Mr. Owen. Up, up. Explain that to me, bud.
Which one?
39.99.65. Where'd you come up with the 65?
I don't know.
I want to know everything about this baby.
As far as I understand it, those were utility charges that accumulated over time, so we do keep an exact record of the amounts.
Which property is that on?
Arch Street.
We're
St.
not-
Clair.
We're
St.
not
Clair?
sure.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
we think it was, it's on St. Clair Street,
Clair.
actually.
Is it the- is it the-
Hutchins, where we just divided those properties up.
Those three lots?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going. Why are we getting a bill for
Well,
the
and
utility?
because the delinquent debt was placed on the property as a lien. So when we don't get paid as a matter of business every day, we lien properties for amounts that are owed to us on water sewer.
And you've never said this can't be collected, we're gonna mark it off?
Yeah, even if we write that off as bad debt, we still leave it as a lien on the property. We'd have no reason to take it off the property as a lien.
So if somebody buys one of those lots, they're gonna be liable for this?
There'll be a lien on
They
it.
would. They should, it should have come up in the title search. It should have come up as a cloud on the title search.
That's my question. When it went to title search, we paid for title search, did
Yes,
we
we
not,
have.
Dale?
Yeah, they did.
Now, do they have insurance to pay for a claim that they missed?
If they missed it, if it was recorded
We
properly.
paid quite a bit for that.
Yeah, so
Did it a couple
why
of
don't we
times.
go back after our title claim?
I can look into it. I mean, we've done proper closings for all the property that we've.
And when I talked with Brian about it, I told him we're perfectly willing to do whatever on this, but if there is something the title company missed, then they would have an obligation to the city to correct that.
Do we want to hold off on paying that claim until we can look into it a little bit?
Yeah, that's fine with me. It's
Yes, sir.
I told Mr. Clausen we'd meet him in mediation.
So,
Did you guys sign a contract with him?
That was before he asked for, help with his
I
building.
still want that pound of elk meat.
Got it.
Oh, boy.
okay, we have two exceptions in the claims. Can I get a motion to approve the balance of them?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Comments from the audience?
Oh, my God. Tom Schneider was first up.
Good, Tom.
Oh, my God.
People are freezing in more so.
You got 12 seconds.
That's it, thank you.
I'm going to ask for a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
I'm going to.
I might as well before he
Gonna
gets
take
back.
me back there, buddy. My mind's made up.
Did redevelopment bill for your time going out there.
Oh, and you don't really want to comment, do you?
She's just,
What are you commenting about? You're done.
I know, I don't know whether she's gonna bring money.
We got a park, we're going to do a park, you're going to buy the building next to it, or we're going to give you the building next to it, probably, the way we usually do it.
That's the first time I'm hearing that.
Right. Crazy.
You talk to yourself a lot, young lady.
Maybe a little bit. Hey, sometimes I'm talking to you, okay? Like that?
15 minutes. Much discussed, yes, ma'am. Yeah, buddy. Do you talk to your husband about these meetings much? You said it was weird tonight, huh?
Oh.
How's he liking his job?
Likes it.
Good for him. I'm glad. We need that here.
Yes.
That gal's still waiting to talk to somebody. You?
Yeah, thanks. You know, Fisher's tonight they're voting on
$60,000 from the city to buy limos. They can turn around and sell them and come back and say, give me more. And to get a building that the city's already giving grants on, another one too.
Why did he move in the first place? Wouldn't it be a prime location where he's at out there?
Already got a lot.
It's one of the business that you're gonna find, you're gonna search out.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of guts to do. But it's a new board. You got the folder here, it was gonna be brought up. I still.
Why I brought it.
How many guys you got working for you, Ted?
Just me.
You know, you don't.
Me, my son and my grandsons help me. And got a retired brother helps me when I need it. I used to have 4 employees and I worked harder then than I have to do it by myself.
Really?
That's true. I got tired of it.
Yeah.
Even finding people. Gee. Sorry, boys.
Sorry. One employee I had, he ended up doing pretty good. He's head of maintenance in General Electric. The other one, he works on the chillers up there at General. I train him well.
We're back in session. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Tom Schneider. I live on High Street. I've been coming to these meetings and council meetings a long time. In fact, I first started when the boats first came here. And I have to say that tonight, this is the first time that I have ever seen an individual come up and say that he is willing to put $1 million, I think that's what you said, right? $1 million in the town. Everybody else comes here and they got their hand out.
Absolutely.
Okay? And I'm not saying that what they wanted, they weren't deserving and they didn't put it to good use. But even big developers, and we've had several meetings with big developers, and they all have their hand out to see what they can get from Lawrenceburg in order to do something. So my advice, if you will be willing to take it, is that, and I'm not saying this because he'll shut my power off tonight, but because it's an opportunity to fix an area of town that needs fixing badly, okay? You fix the gateway, you fix with the hotel, you know, now you got this side of town. And I've never seen an individual come here and say he's willing to put this kind of money in this community.
It gives us that incentive we talked about to go forward.
Thank you. And Tom, your power won't be shut off till Christmas.
Yeah, I'd like, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say in all the years I've been here, it's the first time Tom's ever came up and made a lot of sense.
Paul, did you have a statement?
I got some questions and requests. It's been a problem here for a little while, so I would like to ask Dale Kelly a question, and it might help council and redevelopment. How much trouble would it be? I know the minutes are a lot of work, okay, and I know there are a lot of time putting them together and everything, but I was just thinking the last month or so, could we possibly burn a DVD and put it in our packets for minutes instead of the paperwork? Would that save the city any money? Would it cost us a lot of money? And the reason why I've been thinking about it lately is because there's been a few things pop up that we can all have interpreted or however we want to say it, but I think I know I got enough time to sit sometimes at home and go over minutes instead of it's not everything you say when you put it in the minutes. So they can be interpreted a little different. So I would like to know, I would like to make it a policy for 2017. I don't know whether it takes an ordinance, a vote, or just...
With still doing minutes, correct? And then, because we still have to have minutes on.
That's something legal that I don't know. I'm just requesting that when I get a packet and when redevelopment gets a packet, that we get a DVD of the meeting that we took place in. That's my only question to do a little research on.
No, I think we can do that, and I think it's a good idea. And just to give you a background, you know, with some of the issues, like for example with Trinity, that's what we do on a case-by-case basis. So when we have an issue where we aren't clear on what the interpretation is, we go back, we pull the minutes, we pull the video, we watch them. Sometimes it'll be 2 or 3 meetings, and we always read the minutes and watch the video, because you got to have both to understand. And it's not always clear, with the way that the discussions kind of flow. Sometimes you need to do that to understand.
And it could clear it up for us.
Along with that, when we give out a grant, can we have it written down and given to every board member, every penny for everything that grant is buying? And if it's not on there, we don't buy it.
Absolutely, and I think that's important. I think that's the lesson that certainly I learned from the RAP situation and what we kind of went through with that. Again, all we want is to carry out the vote exactly as it is. It's just not always crystal clear. We have to go back and watch the video and look at the minutes and do our best, but I think that's important. I think it's important to take a time out when we're giving these grants out too, to be specific and lay that out, and I didn't do a great job of that at the beginning, and I'm more aware of that now.
Well, this could be a tool for you, and that's just a request. I got another question, and this is because it's got to do with possible grant, but I need Mike, I think, to answer this one, and it doesn't have to be tonight, but I just want to know why it ain't Bobo's anymore, it's the one on the corner, would have to have a restroom when the Brickyard didn't have to have an outdoor one, nor does the Hilton, because the Hilton played music all summer long on their outdoor patio, and they used the outdoor patio at the Brickyard.
I believe Bob misspoke. Bob, you may have.
with the state, and they said that.
That's not a zoning issue, but
I would like to have that explained to me then.
I think that is probably a state building code.
Well, if I can help with that.
Well, and me and you can have, I don't want to be longer, but me and you talk enough to where if you can explain it to me, I'm just having problems with it because we're serving meals up on the levee. We got music up there every weekend. And I just want for him, if he doesn't have to borrow that much more money, that would be my question. All right. Now, I'd like to concentrate on Mr. Scudder's first. I don't know if you can get options and get these people locked up, but if that can be done, I think it's a big mistake to do anything else. He's the key to this, and I got that. RSVPs, we did that. Is this, when we have our meeting with the redevelopment and council, is that going to be a public meeting, or is it going to be a private meeting, or how's that going to be addressed?
I'm assuming it would have to be a public meeting, and I don't know why it couldn't be.
That's the way I'd like to keep everything public, transparent.
Work session.
The other thing that I'm wanting to do, and I get asked a lot, and I agree with them whenever I get asked this, I felt like a little bit earlier in the night and a little bit throughout the night that numbers are not really willing to be tossed out there. We got people sitting in the audiences, and I would like to make a habit out of, if somebody wants to keep these loans private and they don't want the public to know what the amount is, I tell them go to the bank. I think that too many times I'm sitting in this seat and these people don't want to give out that number and give out that information. You know what? If that's the way they want to do business, they can go to a bank. I want to know numbers on everything sitting here as a citizen tonight, and I think I'm going away with not all the knowledge that this meeting should have gave to me. There are some numbers out there that I think should have been thrown out there. And the last thing I got is I don't know why we came into the meeting tonight postponing decisions that I think could have possibly been made, but we're putting them off till February. I don't know where that decision came from, I don't know why we're not doing business at this meeting, but I'm a little wondering about that. I feel like we're wasting 2 months.
No, we aren't, Paul. I don't think so. I think that what
Was
we
this
have...
your decision or a whole board decision?
It was a board decision, and I think what we decided to do...
Wait a minute, no, it wasn't.
Well, I just wanted to get to that point. I'm sitting here wondering why we're wasting December and January and having a meeting in February when I know damn good well the time to do planning is right now and getting it ready for the spring. And here we are, we're gonna be talking about things in February now.
I'm all for starting over tonight.
Well,
let's settle it.
Well, I just was wanting to know who made the decision not to make any decisions tonight.
I had a bit of a discussion with Mel. I was a little concerned that we hadn't really talked about funding for 2017. And, we have the civic park, expense potentially looming. And it's just unclear if, knowing that we have to come to council for additional appropriations. So I asked Mel, in general, I said, what do you think? So we kind of strategized a little bit to have a working session in January and take a look at our budget for 2017 and say, do we have money to set aside for things like downtown development, business expansion, retention, or do we have another focus in 2017 that we should consider?
Mr.
Trying to be cognizant of all the funding.
Brian, when Mel, you mentioned before the meeting that we were going to do that, and I said, wait a minute, you're talking about all the things that are on the agenda. And he said, no, just the development for the riverfront. And I said, fine, because we want to talk about the firehouse and some other things. And Mel said, no problem. But I got the feeling, like Paul did, that it had been decided before the meeting that we couldn't discuss numbers or make a decision. Now, the firehouse was decided that we need to get 2 appraisals. I got it. So that's done. Had we not decided, or the board had not decided to get proposals, I fully wanted us to have discussion on possibly buying it, okay? But that got precluded because of there's a couple other things. We still have money in our budget.
Any additional money we appropriate also has to go through
I know, but we still have a guideline for over $1 million.
I explained to you, at times I'm called upon to collectively feel out the position on boards and try to understand what's right and wrong. The intention was to take a step back, look at the budget at the end of 2016, look forward to 2017, determine if we want to set aside a specific amount of money to do certain things, whether it's the new home buyer program, assistance to downtown development, whether it's focused on the civic park area, and do we have enough money to do all those things. As far as the numbers go, there was never any decision or discussion not to talk about numbers anywhere. I'm reluctant to throw out a number that I don't know if it's right or wrong.
I'm just saying, that was the feeling that I had.
There was no discussion about any numbers not being discussed whatsoever. It was only the caution to vote to spend another $150,000 that is going to be tougher next year with some of the other things we've got going on.
Well, maybe.
No, just a second.
All right.
Have you considered more than one meeting a month for the rehab committee? Because it is very important that it gets done.
I'm up for it.
Is it up to the board to make that decision? Do we make it January the 1st or what? I don't know.
We can make it tonight.
We can have as many as we like, and I think it might be necessary as we move forward with the riverfront development project. And I think the idea was that all the proposals tonight are kind of around the redevelopment, the riverfront redevelopment project.
Next year's going to be a big year.
Absolutely, and I think that was the thought process with Mr. Messmore and Director Davis.
I didn't catch that.
These are now businesses that are interested in locating here based on the riverfront project.
We weren't considered on that decision.
I don't think it was a decision, but I don't know. That was just my observation.
Well, the one thing the last thing I'll say is we just had a few people make a presentation tonight, and now I'm sitting here wondering, as a group, you know, I've always felt we should have had a budget on the redevelopment project that the council was willing to spend from the beginning. That should have been the first thing we did. Why we haven't done it, I don't have a clue. But are we leaving these people out that have asked tonight? I'm for giving answers. I think a couple of them could have got answers tonight possibly, or requested to bring more things in. February, you know, why ain't we doing it in January?
I don't know why we couldn't do it in January.
Well, I mean, you know, guys, here's the thing. We're all getting paid to work. We know things are getting done. I know the holidays are here, but it just seems to me like we're wasting a little bit of time. So I'd like that maybe to be considered next year, around this time of year, to move on things. And the last question or last statement I'm going to make is, I'm puzzled a little bit by something Ms. Kreider said. I've talked to her many a time about this development down here in this park. I've never heard anything negative about it. We just heard a guy step up to the plate tonight and want to offer some, you know, possible development. The whole thing about this is development, guys. I'm curious to know, you know, I think I know the answer. You take this park out of the equation, and I bet you take that $1 million offer out of the equation too. I'm not sure. I don't want to speak for him.
No, he said that earlier.
But I'm going to tell you something. If we would have had a developer that wanted that property with all those buildings around it, he'd already been there. You said it. We've been waiting for 20 years. I don't know when we're going to get it. I don't know if we're going to get it unless we commit to doing something in that area. We've already tried music on the river once up on top of that thing, and it was obviously didn't work too good because they rushed right back down to the bottom. We tried 15 years ago to put something, and it was a joint project from the city of Lawrenceburg and the LCD to put an effort on getting music over the river. I know it's been blamed on a lot of things, but the truth is when that thing got built, nobody used it. And there's a reason why nobody used it, because they didn't want to use it.
Skateboarders used it and tore it up.
Well, it's been tried. We've got a chance here to do something good. I'm sure Pat wants to do something good for the community, but I tell you guys, you go to any of these big cities and you put something in there and you get your restaurants and places around it and things are going to grow. And don't forget about this. There are 5 other studies over in my office at Conservancy, and I ain't so sure that the reason why they all didn't get done is because we sit around and the administration change. Politics. So if you're going to do something, commit to it. And I don't think you'll be able to do the whole project, because the whole project, now, I said that wrong. If you do a good enough job of starting this project and planting a seed, the next administration might realize that this is a good idea and they might follow through with it. But if you sit around, all we're going to do is we're going to be thinking about it again, and we aren't going to do it. And that's all I got.
Amen.
No more.
I just want to clarify my, I didn't want to confuse you all. Here's the deal. After we saw that presentation, this is what I heard from people, that maybe it was a little overdone, and that it was going to cost the city more than it needed to, and that maybe we could accomplish what we wanted to accomplish in a smaller area and with less money. So the only reason I brought that up is because in the past, I sat through a lot of meetings where I kept my mouth shut, and I really did, and I watched some decisions made that people, you know, I had second thoughts about, and I thought, gee, should I say something? No, let's just not say anything. So I know that piece of property is valuable, and I just bring that up as a thought. Are you all okay with it? Because if everybody's okay with it, then I'm fine with it too. because we need green space. But I've seen too many times when things weren't looked at thoroughly and with the big picture, and we ended up spending money that maybe we regretted spending it later on. And I've been around for 20 years to see a lot of this, so that's why I bring it up, just so that I know that everybody's in the same place with it. Because I heard comments the other night that indicated that people weren't, okay? And that's the only reason I bring that up. I heard lots of comments the other night. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, that's it.
Just for better dialogue, Pat, you're absolutely wonderful. I was at the meeting too, and those comments were not directed towards the civic park. It was directed towards the park they were putting on top of that parking garage as a complete waste of money if we hadn't gotten the civic park worked out first. I spoke to everybody. I don't know anyone that doesn't see that whole thing. Maybe they don't understand maybe why the tax is raised, but everyone was excited about that. What they didn't understand is why we were looking at two parks, one being so far away from the entertainment center. So I think a lot of those comments were directed towards the upper level of that parking garage and not the civic park. Everyone I've talked to, even though they weren't at the meeting, a lot of people are excited about what the civic park can offer.
No.
The plan design, the RFP, to see different scales of design is something to be determined, but again, I just want to at least get it known that that civic park is something that I feel has generated a lot of interest. It was just the
Meeting's
upper
over.
part of the top floor of that parking garage.
I'm just saying.
Well, and Dennis has brought up the prospect that maybe what could possibly be new on that movie on the river lot could now be moved to part of that space up there rather than just park space that would cost people a lot of money.
Guys, I'd like to remind you of something. We had a vote to adjourn the meeting, so if you all want to talk, that's fine with me, but the meeting is adjourned.
Tell your mind.
We didn't vote to
We didn't have a formal motion.
We didn't vote to adjourn,
We
Mel.
didn't vote to adjourn yet, Mel.
We voted to pay claims.
I'm leaving.
We need a motion, Mel.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Here's if you want.
All in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Hey, that house over on Short Street, is that a double or a single?
Well, I mean, part of that chair and a director
Sloped
too
lot
is
there on this
established
end.
direction. And that's what we said at the beginning. Because of the development.
Well, my question is,
It's some of these other things we may want to take under advisement.
is it too close to the street, or is it in line with the houses that are already there? You know, that goes into play when you start talking about your setbacks.
I think that's, I'm not.